Greetings and salutations, travelers of the internet. Welcome to the Lit Round Table. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Anna, and we'll be your wise or not so wise mentors for today's audio adventure into all things storytelling.
And this is the April episode.
Correct, which I think is episode 3 of season, whatever season we're on.
5, this many.
Holy moly, how is that possible? Today is my turn to think of a episode topic, and I was trying to think of things that were happening in storytelling in the wider world right now. And of course there's lots of chit chat around the new Snow White movie that Disney has just released.
Right, and I must say, I have seen nothing but negative press
Yeah.
for the new Snow White movie.
Yeah. I have not seen it. I don't really have an intention of seeing it because I don't like the live action remakes of Disney classics that they're doing.
Right.
That said, I know I went and saw the new Mufasa movie, but I wish it had just been animated.
Yeah.
And so anyway.
And at least that was an original story.
Correct. That was the only reason that I even thought of going, because I was curious about the Mufasa story, history, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't really have a lot of interest in seeing the new Snow White. So I'll put that caveat on here.
Yeah.
And a lot of the negative press around like Gal Gadot, how do we say her name? Whatever. Her acting.
I thought it was Gal Gadot, but I could be wrong.
It probably is Gadot, because Gadot sounds wrong now that I've said it out loud. A lot of criticism around her acting and singing, which I think is fair. I've seen really positive things about Rachel Ziegler's singing, which is not surprising either, because she's an established singer.
Right.
So, anyway. But I thought this was a perfect opportunity for us to talk about the original Grimm's fairy tale, Snow White. Because there have been many adaptations of Snow White. And even the Grimm's brother fairy tales have been, like, in the Wikipedia article, which is where I'm getting most of my information. So if you want to do more of a deep dive, you can go read the whole article there, or you can read the original version yourself. But there's like, even in the article, they're like, well, this was in the original version, the first edition of the collection of their fairy tales. And this is how it was rewritten in this edition of, like, it has changed several times, even just by the Brothers Grimm. So, just keep that in mind. Yeah, there are some iterations that are more true to the original fairy tale than others. But I wanted to go through some of the original story beats with you, Joseph.
Yeah.
And the listeners. So, is there anything, I suppose before we get started, that you think is in the Disney's original animated that maybe does not appear in the Grimm's version?
Well, I will say it's been a long time since I've actually sit down and watched the animated Disney version.
Fair.
There's a good chance that I have only ever seen it like once or twice in my entire life. Like,
that seems unlikely to me. But you were probably a baby.
Right.
Because I know that I watched it many times, but you would have been admittedly very tiny.
I believe the dwarves are a Disney invention.
Okay.
The dwarves that she goes and lives with. I believe I think that's not in the OG.
Okay.
Because like every other, because I've seen like Snow White and the Huntsman, like you remember that Kristen Stewart movie.
Actually,
like
pretty good.
other versions of the Snow White story that leave the dwarves out. So either one, people aren't touching it because it's controversial, or two, they're not doing it because it wasn't actually in the original.
Cool.
But now that I say that, like, maybe it wasn't the original, and it's just one of those things that didn't age well because, it's old. Yeah, I don't know. So, but I'm gonna commit to the stance that the dwarves were a Disney thing.
Okay.
And even if they weren't a Disney thing and they were in the original, I don't think there was a dopey or a grumpy or a sleepy or a doc.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So there were dwarves,
Ah,
but they
okay.
were not named,
Okay, thank you.
and they weren't really as prominent a characters as they are in the
Yeah,
Disney
yeah.
version. So there is a magic mirror, there is a poisoned apple, there is a glass coffin, and the evil queen and the seven dwarfs are all in the original.
Is there a huntsman?
There is a huntsman. Yes.
Okay.
Apparently, the dwarves were first given names in a Broadway version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which predated the Disney version of the.
Interesting.
And that was in 1912 in the Broadway play. Had the dwarves
Okay,
named.
okay.
I don't know. That's all I know about that. Yeah. So let's look at the plot of the original. So
Yes.
in the beginning of the story, there's a queen who's sewing. She pricks her finger while she's sewing, and she drips blood onto she's got a window that's open. There's snow that's on the black sill, and she bleeds onto the snow, and that's where the like skin is fair as snow, dark hair, red lips, whatever is all born out of that like image of the blood on the snow on the black windowsill.
Yeah.
Which the pricking of the finger on a sewing needle reminds me of Sleeping Beauty. I know it's a different needle, but it's anyway.
Right.
So
Lots of finger
similar,
pricking.
yes, similar motif there. Yeah. So here's a quote: "How I wish I had a daughter who had skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony." And then
Right.
she dies giving birth to this baby. There is the baby being Snow White.
Yeah.
Most of the versions, she dies in childbirth. There's apparently an 1812 version where she doesn't die, but then she becomes like the stepmother. So it's not an evil stepmother, it's just an evil mom.
Yeah.
So, and there is for sure the 1812 version, and then there's a couple others where that appears, but most of the time it's an evil stepmother.
Or evil queen. I thought stepmother was
Well,
like Cinderella, or is it?
it's a stepmother, so but a
Okay.
queen because her father's the king.
So the queen is Snow White's evil stepmother.
So the original queen is her mother. Her mom dies. Her father remarries. His new wife
Got
is
you.
the queen, but she is also the evil stepmother. So,
Got you.
but often referred to as the evil queen because you're right.
Got you. Okay.
Cinderella is an
Okay.
evil stepmother who is not a queen. She's just evil.
Yeah.
So yeah, another motif that's rehashed here. It's the evil stepmother. In the original version, the new queen, the evil stepmother, practices witchcraft. And she has this magic mirror that she asks every morning who the fairest of them all is, which is well known from the Disney version too. Until this, in the original version, Snow White is 7 years old when the mirror tells the evil queen that Snow White is the fairest of them all.
Well, that's a sus mirror, I must say.
It is. It is, but also I'm okay. So fair, like fairness,
I know.
beauty, like I feel like that's not an age thing. But the fact that this evil queen heard that her 7-year-old stepdaughter was the fairest of them all and then was just filled with murderous rage against the 7-year-old is bonkers. I mean, the whole thing is bonkers, but she's 7 years old, man.
Yeah.
So it's not immediate that she has her tries to have her killed, but she has hate welling up in her for her ever
Right.
from that moment on. In the original, she does order a huntsman to take Snow White into the forest and kill her, but she requests for her lungs and liver, not for her heart, so that she can eat them with salt.
You know, witchy things.
Yeah.
Girl dinner, you know?
Girl dinner. Double entendre with that one.
Yeah.
The huntsman is unable to kill Snow White because she realizes what she's doing, and she begs him to spare her. And I mean, he's just a guy. So he lets her go, and he brings the queen a boar's lungs and liver. And the queen has the cook them, and she eats them. So intent at cannibalism on the queen's part. Snow White finds a tiny cottage in the woods, and no one's home. So we've got kind of a Goldilocks scenario here. No one's home.
Right.
She eats some of their meals, drinks their wine, and then tests all of the beds. And finally, she falls asleep in the last bed, and then they find her, where she has ransacked their house, sort of.
Yeah. Right.
She wakes up when they discover her, and she explains what's happened. They agree to let her stay in exchange for a job. So they're like, "You can stay in our house, but you've got to be our housemate now." So, what she agrees to, and they warn her to let anyone in while they're not home. So, but again, no names. They're just dwarves that go and work. There's no indication of what kind of work they do. There's nothing about a mine or anything like that.
Shall we speculate? What jobs do you think these dwarves had in the original? I think they were insurance claims adjusters.
Hilarious.
Or no, Twitch streamers. This was a content house.
Hilarious.
Where they would make content for YouTube and Twitch. Anyway,
You have to keep the house clean for our videos. Yeah. And that doesn't work out very well, though, because they do leave, and Snow White becomes even more beautiful, and the queen thinks she's got rid of her, but then her magic mirror finally spills the beans and is like, actually, Snow White is still alive, and the mirror shows the queen the dwarves' home.
Yes.
And so she's determined that she's just going to go kill her herself. And in the original version, it takes 3 attempts.
Oh.
So the first time she appears, she comes as an old peddler, and she sells Snow White, or offers her a new bodice and laces her up. But she laces her up so tightly that Snow White faints.
Okay.
So she tries to suffocate her by bodice.
Very Elizabeth Swann.
Yes. The dwarves return, and they find her just in time. They loosen the laces, and she comes to, and she's fine. The queen's second attempt was as a comb salesperson, like a hair comb that she's poisoned. And so she brings that to the house, and she combs Snow White's hair with a comb that's poisoned until she is overcome with the poison. But again, the queen doesn't stick around to finish the job ever. She leaves before she's actually dead, and the dwarves show up and they remove the comb, and she's fine. And then finally, the queen disguises herself as a farmer's wife, and she offers Snow White the apple, the poisoned apple that we all know.
Right.
She takes a bite, and she falls into a coma, which makes the queen think that she's finally done it. And this time, the dwarves aren't able to revive her. So they think that the queen has finally killed her, and they put her in a glass casket as a funeral for her. An undisclosed time later, a prince stumbles upon the seemingly dead Snow White. In the original version, the prince had never actually met Snow White. This is his first time seeing her. But he discovers her in the glass coffin during a hunting trip. He does not awaken her with a kiss. That is a Disney invention.
Because you know what I really want to do when I find a random corpse of...
Kiss it?
You know...
I will say in the Disney version, they had met before that.
Yes, they have.
But still an odd choice. The dwarves tell the prince what happened to her, and he decides he's going to take her to get a proper resting place. After all, she is the princess. And so he takes her. And in the original version, while she's being transported, one of the prince's servants trips. And so the casket becomes unbalanced and falls. And that dislodges the piece of apple from Snow White's throat, which magically revives her. But in the 1812 version, so this is the same version as the queen. Her mother is actually the evil queen, her bio mom. In that version, where'd it go? The prince becomes obsessed with Snow White and carries her coffin everywhere he goes. Until one of his servants is so fed up that he lifts Snow White out of the coffin and strikes her on the back, which causes her to eject the apple and be okay. So the 1812 version has a lot of weird things happening in it.
Yeah, for sure.
But in both cases, the prince is overjoyed by her awakening, and he professes his love for her and proposes immediately, which is wild. And Snow White agrees. Strange.
Yes, because when I wake up from a coma and some rando that I've never seen before proposes marriage to me, I'm like, bro, what year is it?
A rando who's been obsessed with your dead corpse.
Yeah. Like, I have so many other questions. No, I will not marry you. My muscles have atrophied. I can't walk.
Right.
Right.
It is strange.
I need physical therapy.
and just regular therapy.
Yeah.
Hook me up, man. Yeah. So she agrees to marry him. They invite everyone except her evil stepmother.
Naturally.
So, again, the queen thinks that she's successfully gotten rid of Snow White, and then her mirror reveals again that he doesn't say who it is. So the mirror is Sneaky Town, but he tells her that the prince has a bride who is fairer. So the queen decides to be a wedding crasher, goes to the wedding, and when she sees Snow White, she's overcome with rage. And she tries to kill her again. But the prince instead catches her out. And his punishment for the evil queen and attempting to murder Snow White is that she must wear a pair of red-hot iron slippers and dance in them until she drops dead.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then the wedding continues. And that's the end.
So you said this was 1812 when this...
No, the original... the 1812 is the weird one that has like a couple of interesting oddities.
This is just the OG is where they make her dance in red hot slippers.
Yes. Oh, wait. Or is it the 1812 one that is the first one? First edition of the collection. Okay. So the 1812 is the first edition. So that's the one where it's her mom and the prince is obsessed with her and carries her around. And then the 1854 is the more common. It's the final revision of the story.
Okay, so 1812.
The first draft, a little rough.
Yeah, dancing in red hot shoes till you die. That's pretty brutal, man.
That's in the final. That's in the final version. Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before.
Nope. Me either.
I thought that lightning struck a boulder and took her out on a mountain.
Right. Yes.
You know?
So, yeah, later on in the article, it talks about how in the Disney version, she falls off a cliff and dies that way. Which is far.
Actually, I think the dwarves like dislodge a boulder and knock her off the cliff.
Right.
Now that I think about
they chase her through the woods, and then they chase her off a cliff, basically. There's a boulder too, for sure.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Quite the differences.
Quite the differences.
You know, why didn't Disney go with the Red Hot Slipper route, I wonder? No.
I mean, yeah. The Disney version is clearly a sanitized version, which is true of almost all fairy tales.
You know, that could have been such a good, great excuse for a musical number in that moment.
True. I don't know if the new version of Snow White pulls more from the original fairy tale or not. My guess is not.
Only loosely, I'm sure. You know, there is an evil queen. Snow White's there. There's a huntsman and a prince, and
there is a I don't remember what it's called, but there was a Snow White adaptation a while back that was more closely aligned with this. It still wasn't perfect, but it was significantly scarier than the Disney version of Snow White, and leaned into the witchy requests of the evil queen, for sure.
Right. Lungs and liver, please.
So Disney was the one who changed it to a heart, though, which you never see the heart, but she requests Snow White's heart. We just see the box. So, I mean, that's pretty dark. That was a pretty dark change. But she didn't want the heart to eat it, so I think that's better.
Right. That would have been pretty metal. That would have been pretty metal,
Yeah. But it's
if Disney had actual cannibalism.
Yeah. There's apparently a version where the stepmother queen just tries to abandon her in the forest, but then that was given to a servant instead. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, many variations of this.
Yeah.
This is just based on the Brothers Grimm version, which I believe is a written version of an oral story. So,
very interesting, though.
Yeah.
You know, those Grimm's fairy tales take such dark and twisted turns. We're so
German.
used to the... Yeah. But I'm just saying, we get so used to the more sanitized, like, kid-friendly versions that we forget that these were, like, could be scary stories.
Yeah, I think that as time has gone on, we've learned that terrorizing children is not necessarily the best parenting strategy.
What?
I know. But yeah,
What do you mean?
I feel like the German folk tales tend to be pretty dark,
Traumatizing.
most of the time. So, which
Right.
I suppose if you look at that part of the world and what like the history of that part of the world is, it makes sense. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so that's Snow White. That's the original Snow White.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So there were dwarves. It like the main story beats are very similar.
Yeah.
It's just a little more sanitized. Like the dwarves are still there. They're just not. They don't have these goofy, quirky names and personality traits that match their names.
I think that is the problem.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the controversy around the new movie was that the actors in cinema that are I guess I don't know what the politically correct way of saying someone who has dwarfism is, if they're okay with being called dwarves or if they'd rather be called little people. I should have looked that up before this, but criticism being that dwarves are not cartoon are cartoonist versions of people. They are, in fact, people. And so Disney said that they were going to do better, and then, in fact, did significantly worse with the live-action dwarves by making them, by leaning into the cartoonish attributes instead of just casting real people with dwarfism in those roles. Because nothing in the original, I mean, they're dwarves, but they're not described as clownish individuals at all. They're just people going to work who had their house broken into by a child.
By an adolescent girl.
So, yeah, I think that is a valid criticism of Disney to not correct that correctly.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is really too bad.
Yeah, I had heard that they leaned really hard into the CG for the dwarves in this new movie, which I'm sure just makes them very characterized and over the top. And like you said, so I understand the criticism for sure. And of course, there's the criticism around Snow White herself.
Which to that I say, get over it.
Yeah,
like
I understand why people are I understand why people say what they say, but at the same time, I don't care, But if you're going to be like a fairy tale purist, I guess enjoy your life. But
I suppose that's what. So I know there was also controversy around Rachel Ziegler because she had made a pro-Palestine post, and when she was asked to remove it, she did not. So kudos to her for that.
My respect for her just shot up.
Correct. But yeah, then having her act alongside Gal Gadot, who's a Israeli actress, is, I'm sure that was interesting for them.
Yeah, that's hard. That's challenging. Challenging PR stuff to deal with.
For sure.
Whoever is in charge of the PR with that movie, I'm sure was
for sure.
They probably have some ulcers.
I would say that I would have been more interested in seeing it if the dwarfs had been cast as real little people in Hollywood instead of the CGI versions that they went with. So they could have just given them. They could have had real people play them and then given them real names.
Yeah,
they didn't have to stick with the original animation motif of happy Doc, dopey, grumpy,
unnecessary.
Yeah. So,
but
anyway,
doesn't matter that much because I'm probably not going to see it. But
fair.
It is what it is.
Fair. I did. So this will transition us well into our, unless you have more to say about.
No.
Snow White. Transition us into our watching, reading, playing. I did try to watch the live action Mulan recently, and I did not get very far and just switched because
bummer.
It just was not good.
That sucks because I like Mulan so much.
Yeah, the live action is not.
Not it.
No, it starts with her as like a little kid, and she's not very likable. I don't know. It was just not. Yeah. It was not it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks for the warning, because I had literally just been thinking about that since we were talking about this. I was like, oh yeah, I never saw that Mulan live action. I wonder what that was like. And well, thank you.
Maybe it gets better, but Blake also said that it was just not good. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, lots of controversy around that movie too. So.
These things are always controversial, and it's like it's almost like the controversy has become their whole purpose. It's like they're just feeding things into controversy machines that they know will get clicks and views.
Yeah.
It's gross.
I haven't seen the Little Mermaid live action either, which I feel bad. I actually feel bad about that one because I would like to support the idea of a black Ariel.
That was also controversial.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that one was stupid for
That one has even
controversy that it got. No legs to stand on. But
yeah, that has even less legs to stand on than Snow White. Well, I mean, like the Snow White purists are like, she's supposed to have skin as white as snow, and blah blah blah. But it's like Ariel. It's like, who cares?
she's a
What?
fish.
Yeah. Why does it?
She could be whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you
So
care?
so maybe I will watch that one, but I really am not a fan of the live action stuff, generally speaking. So
No.
anyway, Joseph, why don't you tell us what you've been reading, watching, playing?
Okay. Well, I'll do it in that order, I suppose. For reading, we're reading Poppy War, which has been very enjoyable. Lots of fun stuff happening with that.
I will say, I think if you like Mulan,
You'll like Poppy War.
I think you'll like the Poppy War. Okay.
For sure.
Carry on.
I agree. Poppy War. That's really the main thing. I've been reading. Besides that, textbooks.
Fair.
For school, I've been reading about frauds, myths, and mysteries. I could tell you all about the Cardiff Giant or the Piltdown Man, like all of these hoax controversy things.
I do want you to tell us about these sometime.
We'll have to do some episodes about some archaeological hoaxes that have come up over the years.
Yes.
That would be very fun to do, because a hoax, a fraud, that's kind of storytelling.
For sure. It absolutely is. It's storytelling with a purpose, to propagandize.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about some of that stuff. But so that's been really interesting. But also Poppy War, still kind of, I haven't gotten as far in it, but I've been dabbling in the Live Ship Trader trilogy from Robin Hobb, which is the next thing in the whole realm of the Elderlings series that she's created. I'm still on chapter 2, but yeah, so not as active in the reading area. Watching, I have been watching Solo Leveling, which the last episode of that just came out this weekend for the season.
Was it good?
It was good. It was a really good season.
Good.
Really, really good. I had also started watching an anime called ReZero, which was this really interesting. The concept is really interesting, where it's an isekai, so it's about this character that gets sucked away into a fantasy world from the real world. And when he's there, he discovers that when he dies, he resets at a different point, earlier in that time. So he's going about his day, something happens, he gets killed, and then he'll wake up earlier in the day when he was talking to someone.
Oh, weird.
And he'll have a chance to redo things and avoid his fate.
That's fun.
And then as he becomes attached to these other characters, bad things happen to them. He'll try to go back and change what happens to them, all this stuff. I will say, word of warning, it's not, I mean, it definitely turned into kind of junk food anime for me. There are aspects of it that feel kind of harem-y, where all of the female characters are falling in love with this male MC, and it's just parts of it can feel that way for sure.
Okay.
But it's still a really interesting concept, and it's a really cool fantasy setting, and it can get actually pretty dark. There's some. So also, content warning, I guess, for that one also. It can get pretty dark and twisted at times. But anyway, I was watching that. Also watched what has been released so far of the new Daredevil series on Disney Plus. That was different, but not bad. I don't know if it's as good as the original Netflix, season 1 Netflix Daredevil is kind of peak Daredevil for me in terms of what's been released so far.
Sure.
But this is I mean, it's not bad. We're only like halfway through the season, and they haven't like they only just came out with like a mid-season trailer for the next half of the
Okay.
season, I think.
So, like, on a scale from WandaVision to the Winter Soldier show.
Captain, like, yeah, it's in the middle, leaning more towards WandaVision for me right now. Like it's leaning on the good side.
So it's like closer to Loki.
Yeah, but Loki's better. But they're still both good. But Loki's really good.
Well, I was trying to like figure out the scale, and I realized I put
Yeah.
WandaVision at the highest. But Agatha All Along was so good that it might be better than WandaVision in some ways. But I think that Loki is definitely still on the good side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And the
sure.
Winter Soldier one wasn't like bad. It was just boring sometimes.
Did you watch the last season of Loki?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Confusing.
For sure. But cool.
But cool.
Yeah, so Daredevil's been really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I feel like I can't really judge it yet until I've seen the whole like season as it stands. Mm-hmm. But also, Wheel of Time season 3 has been happening as well, and this is the best Wheel of Time that we've gotten.
Oh gosh. Okay, I gotta get caught up.
Not even a question. We're finally there. We're in peak Wheel of Time adaptation land.
Okay, I gotta catch up.
Where I feel like they're kind of steering things back towards the book plot. And I just feel like there was such a wrench that got thrown in their plans when the original actor for Matt had to back out. And I feel like also with season 1, COVID was a thing. Mm-hmm. Like COVID interrupted their shooting. One of their actors for like one of the main characters of the entire series had to back out and get recasted for season 2. They had so many struggles to overcome. I feel like now we're finally getting like we're finally seeing the vision
Yeah.
of what they want for the show.
Yeah.
Without all this dumb like obstruction stuff. And no hate or shade to that actor that had to leave. He had some personal family stuff.
It was a super valid reason why he had to leave, but
we don't know what those reasons are. He like totally dipped off of social media. So who knows what happened, but I hope he's okay. But yeah, the show definitely had to recover from that, and they have now, and it is
good. I guess by me saying that it was super valid, I feel like the fact that he did totally dip,
that's valid.
Validates the fact that he had to leave the show. So,
right. I think it was I think like episodes 3 and 4 are like mind-blowing stuff in those episodes of this season.
Okay.
Like, oh.
Okay.
So much is revealed about the world in those episodes, and it's just very cool. So, highly recommend Wheel of Time. I know it's, you have to get through season 1 and 2 before you get to like the best stuff that they've come out with yet, but it's really good.
I mean, I liked season 1, but yeah, I also didn't. I totally missed season 2 even airing.
Right.
So, somehow, but yeah, so I need to get caught up for sure.
Let's see, for watching those things, those are the main things I've been watching. I mean, I guess. Oh, and a couple other things. One is Yellowjackets.
I haven't watched this weekend's episode yet.
Bro.
That's what I'm doing after we're done here.
You're. Yeah, let me know.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll text me immediately after the episode's over. And anyway, yeah, what a wild ride that show is.
It's crazy.
I am scared for it, like overstaying its welcome. Like I feel like this is a show. They need to give it like the Breaking Bad treatment, where it's like the perfect length. Mm-hmm. just give it its like 3 or 4 seasons
Yeah.
and like tie a nice little bow on it, make it a really cool thing. I'm nervous that they're going to try to like make it go on for too long and it's just going to become absurd. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
As is the way with popular things. Sometimes
Right.
capitalism takes hold, and so long as it keeps making money, they keep cranking them out, even if it makes no sense.
Supernatural.
Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but it's really good right now. So crazy, so wild. So Yellowjackets, and also Hope, kind of on a whim, the other night started watching RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It is so campy and so just I wish that I was as just like free mentally and like I don't know, I admire how just unapologetically them everyone in that show is. It's cool. I'm happy for them. it's very entertaining and wild. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much what I've been watching.
I love it.
For playing, less playing this time around. We're still playing D&D. I had to take a little bit of a break because of traveling and craziness and all that good stuff, because scheduling conflicts is the real main villain of any D&D campaign.
Yes.
So we are still playing that. Still playing some Baldur's Gate 3 when I feel the urge to. There's a new update coming out for that game soon, actually. So when that happens, that'll be fun to look at the new stuff for that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for playing so far. I did get a new game for my birthday from some people. We just haven't had a chance to test it yet. So it's a Dominion expansion that's like set in Japan, and it's really cool. And I've gotten like all the cards out and like put them in their place in the box and everything.
Awesome.
But we just haven't play tested it yet.
Dang.
But I'm excited. I'm really excited about that.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait to play it with you sometime.
Yeah. So, anyway, that is it for me. So what have you been up to?
So for me, let me pull out my list here. So when I tried to watch Mulan and I stopped it, I then went and watched the Black Widow movie, which I had not seen yet. Have you seen it?
Okay. Yes, that's the one with David Harbour and
Yes. Florence
oh my
Pugh.
goodness, what's her name? Thank you. How did I forget Florence Pugh's name?
I was pleasantly surprised
It was
by
actually
how good it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Oh, it was good.
I don't know why it took me so long to watch it, but I was like, oh, this is actually a Black Widow movie, whereas the new Captain America movie was secretly a Hulk movie. So I appreciated the Black Widow movie quite a bit in contrast with the new Captain America movie. And David Harbour is just
He's so funny.
incredible.
Yeah.
Still watching Delicious in Dungeon slowly, as Blake and I have time. Her hair, the main girl's hair, has started changing,
Yes.
which is interesting.
Thank you. I'm glad you noticed.
I first noticed it in a flashback, and then since they've had the flashback where her hair was different, it's been changing. I don't know what that means. Maybe it doesn't mean anything. But
I think the artist is just a masochist and was just trying to make their life so much harder.
yeah.
Funny. Anyway.
We did watch our Friday night movie night with Blake and his daughter. We watched The Prince of Egypt. Which that was interesting to see it from a fresh, like the perspective of fresh eyes.
Yeah, from a kid who's never seen it before.
Yeah.
We've seen it like a million times.
Not as into it as we were, which is fine.
Yeah.
We also then watched Lord of the Beans.
Yes.
which was very fun.
Yes.
Win or Lose on Disney Plus. That's the Pixar show. The first season is over. I really hope they get another season. It was so good. I want to become a salesperson for Win or Lose. It was so good. You have to watch it. It's truly incredible. Just some of these kids and their parents and the stuff they're going through and the way it's handled is just incredible.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Speaking about kids and parents dealing with things they're going through, Blake and I also started watching Invincible.
What a segue.
Not as heartwarming.
No.
Way more trauma.
Yes.
Have you seen season 1?
No, but I know a lot of the references and like a lot of the pop culture references I understand. But
the end of
I've not
season
actually seen it.
1, I just... Man. And I know season 3 is out now and it's like incredible. And we haven't obviously gotten that far yet. We just started season 2 last night, but it's very good. If you're wanting like a superhero story that is animated, is not Marvel or DC, it's its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know people say that it's satire for superheroes. I suppose it kind of is, but I think it's just its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just its own superhero thing.
Yeah.
And it's quite good.
Mm-hmm.
Features Sandra Oh as Invincible's mom.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that I just love Sandra Oh. So.
And who's Omni-Man?
J.K. Simmons is Omni-Man.
Thank you. Yeah.
Which is also fantastic.
Very cool. Yeah.
Also, Seth Rogen has a character in this. He's not a very prominent character yet. And I have a beef with Seth Rogen whenever he shows up in things as a voice actor, because I just think he's the laziest voice actor ever, because he just sounds like
Seth
him.
Rogen.
You can always pick him out. You always know exactly where he is when he's voice acting in anything. And it drives me crazy, because he's got the gravelly, chain smoker, stupid laugh.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. I'm
No,
generally
I
not a
understand.
fan of him as a voice actor. But he's a producer on Invincible, and the character on Invincible, like, if you're listening for it, you can tell it's him, but it doesn't just sound like Seth Rogen in an alien body. And I find that annoying, because it proves to me that he can do it. He just chooses not to do it half the time.
Yeah.
And that's so absurd to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't explain it. I understand what you mean, though, for sure.
And then speaking of comedians that I don't care for very much.
Okay.
Our Friday movie night was Blake's daughter's pick this week, and she picked the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat.
Okay.
Which I had not seen. Have you seen it?
No.
It came out when we were kids, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing, I would think it was after the Grinch, the Jim Carrey Grinch, which was wildly popular. Then they did the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat.
Yes.
Super annoying movie. I did not care for it much.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin is in it as like a young man.
Isn't that movie like universally hated and despised? I'm pretty
I
sure.
don't know.
Like if we looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes, it would not do well.
Well, look it up for me, because I found it very annoying. I mean, Blake's daughter thought it was very funny. She had seen it before. Blake had seen it before. And I don't know if I was just not in the right mood for it, but I just found it very annoying.
It was in 2003.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes. All right. So, guess the critic score and then guess the audience score.
I'm terrible at guessing Rotten Tomatoes scores. I have no idea.
I'll give you a hint. It's very bad.
So you want a lower, like the lower percentage is the worse it is. So if you get 100%,
Correct.
it's awesome.
Yeah,
Right?
on
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes, like 100%. I think anything like 80 and up is certified fresh.
Okay.
70 and up is like it's a red tomato. Anything below that is a green splat.
Well, I think it's a green splat.
Right. How bad of a splat do you think it was?
30%.
Lower.
Lower?
With the critics.
Okay. 20%.
Lower.
No way. How low was it?
You got a 10%.
Whoa. Okay, well that makes
On
me
Rotten
feel
Tomatoes.
more valid for being so annoyed by it on Friday.
And the audience score was only audience scores are usually easier to please. Audience score was only a 57.
Oh.
So
Wild.
no, not a good movie, not well received. I'm glad that she had fun with it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I did not enjoy it very much at all. Which is fine. I was folding paper flowers for our wedding, so I was able to like not be wholly in it, which was great.
Right.
I don't have Yellowjackets on here, but yes, I have been watching Yellowjackets. I feel like I've watched something else. I just don't remember what it is. Not a big deal. For reading, The Poppy War, which had Atelier. And I think that's... I've also started reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This is a book from Blake. It's nonfiction, self-help type book. It's been very good. For playing Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Nice.
I have
Love
my
it.
glider finally. I don't remember if I had my glider last time, but that is
Yes!
a game changer. I'm so glad it's back.
Yes.
Pokemon Snap. I think I've almost got all of the locations maxed out on levels, and then I can stop playing. I've decided that's my... Because basically, with Pokemon games, you can just play them forever if you really want. Like, there's always going to be something else that you can try to achieve. I've decided that my end for this game will be when I've maxed out all the different levels. So,
Nice.
which if you've played, you know what that means. And I also started playing Pokemon Violet.
Ooh.
So, my starter is Fuecoco. If you know, you know. Joseph doesn't know. That's fine.
No. I'm happy for you.
It's a kid's game, but it's fun.
Right. Yeah.
We also played a Mario Party game last night. I don't know which one it was. It was on the screen when I walked in the room and was told to play. But it was very fun.
There you go.
There's also a game on the Switch called Hades that Blake has been playing and I've played a little bit of. It's very fun.
That's a great game.
Yeah.
That's a great game.
That's what Blake said. So at some point I will play more of that. But
I have dabbled in Hades, and I keep meaning to get back into it. I just haven't had a moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great game.
yeah, the little bit I've played has been very fun. So anyway, that's what I got.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
Awesome. Well, fun podcast topic.
For
Snow
sure.
White.
yeah.
Very fun. So I guess until next time, go. I won't say go watch a adaptation of Snow White,
Of your choice.
whichever,
Of your choice. You're choosing.
and leave a comment. What's your favorite Snow White adaptation? I'm curious. So I guess until next time, go watch Snow White.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Later.
Bye.